Hi everyone, my name is Yitmarak and welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to tell you all about my favorite books of 2020. My 2020 reading year was not good. I didn't read that many books. I read a total of 24 books. So yeah, but I read something. Overall, I didn't have a lot of favorite books of the year, but I did read some really great stuff, which is what I want to talk to you guys about today. The only book that I'm not going to be mentioning is Imagine Me by Tahara Mafi, which is the last book in the Shatter Me series, which apparently I read last year. I have a whole reading blog of me reacting to Imagine Me, so I'm going to link that down below or somewhere up here so you can watch that if you'd like. Anyway, let's get started with my 5 favorite books of 2020. The first book I want to talk to you guys about is The Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller, which I read at the very beginning of the year in class, and it was so amazing that I haven't been able to stop thinking about it. The Song of Achilles is a retelling of the Iliad, which is an epic poem that follows the very end of the Trojan War. And we have our war hero Achilles. Achilles has a best friend, right-hand man, confidant named Patroclus, and apparently there has been a lot of discussion about their relationship. A lot of scholars believe that it was only platonic, others believe that it was romantic, but in Miller's version, she goes in and says, no, they were in love. So I think that at the center or at its core, this novel really is a love story. Of course, there are other themes as well. You know, it's also about destiny and war and being a pawn in the games of the gods or whatever. Achilles has a destiny. He's meant to be one of the greatest Greek warriors, and so if he goes to this war, he'll be remembered forever. With Achilles, there's this tension between who he wants to be and who he is supposed to be, and he thinks he can have it all. In Miller's version, we follow the perspective of Patroclus, and we see Achilles through his eyes. They meet as young children, they become best friends. They are angsty teenage boys together, and they're very much a unit. One of the things that stayed with me from this book the most was the writing. There are quotes and sentences that live very vividly in my mind. Patroclus very much adores Achilles, and I think that the writing perfectly shows his desire to hold on to his happiness for as long as he can. And it's very much a young love that is joyous and radiant and innocent, but then at the same time, there's always this underlying tone of melancholy, because happiness could be taken away at any moment. And that's really what it feels like to read from Patroclus' perspective. It's a beautiful, tragic love story, and it broke me, and whenever I think about it, it makes me a little sad, but it's really, really beautiful, and I definitely recommend it, and I'm definitely going to read more of Miller's work. Next, I have Clap When You Land by Elizabeth Acevedo, which follows Camino and Yahaira. The two of them just lost their father in an airplane accident, but they don't know about each other because their father lived a double life, one in the Dominican Republic and another in New York City. This novel is also completely written in verse, which I've never read a novel like that, but I thought it was so wonderful. Because the novel is written in verse, I feel like it's limited because of its structure, so Acevedo has to be very precise with her words, and I think she uses language so masterfully to really show and demonstrate the loss and the grief and the anger that these girls feel in a very evocative way. There's this quote that I always think about where she describes anger as being as a river, and I remember thinking that I would never describe anger in that way, but in the context of the novel and the way that she describes it, it makes perfect sense. Camino and Yahaira grew up in very different places, and so they're very different people, and they're dealing with their grief in a different way, and they're dealing with each other in a different way as well. And there's a lot of mistrust, and I feel like as a reader, it was a little bit frustrating because I am following both of them, so I know who they are and I know their feelings, but obviously they can't read each other's minds. Because of the way that it is written, I feel like you are rooting for them. You understand them both. And although this is a very heartbreaking novel, I mean, it is about grief. So it is very sad. I also really like the hopeful aspect of it. I think you could fly through this book. I read it in one sitting. I did cry, and I definitely recommend it. I'm realizing that both of the books that I just talked about are kind of sad. Let's talk about something happy. So if you guys didn't know, I really love historical romances. They're one of my favorite things to read. I love romance on its own, and I also just love historical shows and books. So it's one of my favorite genres. And my favorite historical romance that I read last year was The Wallflower Wager by Tessa Dare. Dare is an author that I love, and I can always trust her to bring me joy. This book was so great. The Wallflower Wager follows Penny and Gabriel. Gabriel grew up very poor but managed to claw his way out of it and is now the wealthy Duke of Ruin. Penny is our wallflower. She would rather stay at home with all of her animals, and she has a lot, than to be part of high society. Gabriel becomes Penny's neighbor, and for plot reasons, they become allies for mutual convenience. I love them together. They had such good chemistry, but I also really love them separately, especially Penny. She is like, if a character was a cinnamon roll, it would be Penny. She's so kind, she's so compassionate, she's very much a nurturer, and she brings out the softest side of Gabriel. He's very much the grumpy and she's very much the sunshine. I would describe the energy of this novel as sweet and charmingly domestic. They're sort of just hanging around with all of these animals. And it's really fun, it's really funny as well. But it's also not afraid to get serious. Both Penny and Gabriel have gone through traumas in their life, and I feel like one of the messages of this novel is that you might go through things that make you feel like you're not worthy of love and care, but you are, and they find that with each other. Here are some keywords that may catch your attention: cute animals, found family, only one bed, lust at first sight, which is not really my favorite, but it's okay. A ball, and there's a bunch of other stuff, but definitely really love this book. Next, I have Watch Over Me by Nina LaCour. I had the privilege of getting an ARC of this novel, so thank you so much to Penguin Teen for sending it my way. This is my first Nina LaCour novel, but I've heard so many great things about her emotional writing style, so I was really looking forward to it. This novel follows Mila, who takes a job as a teacher in an isolated farm after aging out of the foster care system. The farm is really special. It's run by this couple that take children in. Mila develops this really strong bond with her student, Lee, and they have this sort of sibling relationship that I really enjoyed. While Mila really aches to be loved and cherished, and she really wants to have a family, she is also really afraid because of the trauma that she went through as a child. And that's really what this story and novel is about. We have a character that has to face the ghosts that are haunting her. Literally, because we have a literal ghost in the novel, but also figuratively. And it's hard. There's a lot of turmoil within Mila, and as a reader, it really tears at you, especially because the writing is so lucid in the way that it describes her grief. Like, I was rereading some parts to prepare for this video, and I wanted to burst into tears. If that tells you anything about the emotional pool of the novel, then there you go. Something else that really stayed with me was the atmospheric writing. I don't know how to explain it, but every time I picked up the book, I felt like I was on the farm with them. Like, LaCour paints the clearest picture. Imagine a foggy place, a cool breeze, the waves somewhere in the distance. It's peaceful and beautiful, but there's also something dark and dreary about it. Overall, I finally understand why people gushed about LaCour's writing so much. Last but not least, I have The Kingdom of Bag by Mary Lou. This is a historical fantasy that follows Mary Ann and Wolfgang Mozart. The two are young musicians and composers. I'm sure you've heard of Mozart. this story focuses on his sister, Nannerl. The novel follows them as children, growing up in an era where women and men are not appreciated in the same way. Nannerl longs to be a composer. She wants to be remembered forever, but her society prevents her from following that dream. She's very close to her younger brother, and they have this very loving relationship. Mozart thinks that, or Wolfgang thinks that his sister is very talented, but he doesn't really understand that they are not viewed equally. There's also a magical aspect in this book. Here comes a princeling from a magical land that offers Nannerl everything that she wants. But of course, it comes with a price, and she doesn't know if she's willing to pay it. I would say that this is a gentle, quiet type of fantasy with some whimsical elements. It gave me the most comforting feeling. I feel like part of it is that musical aspect, which is one of the reasons why I wanted to read it. And music really lives in every sentence. It also made me feel like a kid reading a really great fairy tale. I love that the world is sort of everywhere and not there all at once. One moment, the Mozart children will be in their house, and they'll look out the window or they will walk through a doorway and suddenly they are in the kingdom of Bach. It also reminded me of stories that I grew up with, like Nannerl and the Princeling reminded me of Peter Pan and Wendy a lot, which is a story that is also very playful, right? There's also that need to escape reality because growing up means that Nannerl has to give up her dream. She has to give up her music, and she has to enviously watch her brother, who she loves, who she cares about, do everything that she's ever wanted to do. She is going to be forgotten by history while he is remembered forever. So there is some darkness in the heart of it all, because that's some pretty dark thoughts. There's this one scene towards the end of the book. There's a couple, but there's this one scene that I really love because it really shows how much Nannerl and wallflower appreciate and respect each other, and I am such a sucker for well-written relationships, so that's something about this novel that I really loved. Anyway, if you read this book, which you should, listen to 7 by Taylor Swift while you do so, because I feel like that song in this book just vibe. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. I really miss talking about books, and hopefully I'll be back with more recent reads and that sort of thing. Let me know if you read any of the novels that I talked about today, and don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment, and I will see you guys later. Bye!